Welcome back to another episode of DigiCaddie, where I am building an AI golf coach from scratch to take me from a 16.9 handicap and hopefully be able to teach me how to play golf. So if you are interested in learning how to annotate a model, train a model, deploy a model, and get results back that don't identify you as a hair dryer, then this is your video. Because I'm going to show you how I went from taking nothing and developing a model that I deployed that could then, with high confidence, detect a clubhead. So step one was getting DigiCaddie to be able to take a picture. So before I even try to get to load a model or anything like that on there, I need to make sure that I can actually take some pictures. So looking in here is really just my quick test of, can I take a picture with this and can I save that image? The main tool that I use throughout this, right, is CV2. It's just one of your main Python tools and is really handy for handling anything related to imagery. So it's how I'll be capturing the images, capturing the videos. And then the next thing is reading and writing from your specific USB port, which is what gave me a little bit of an issue. I would run my test, capture an image, and then if I turned my Pi off, came back, ran the same script, it wouldn't work. I was like, what's going on here? And so basically my USB, its profile was changing and it was going from a port of 1, 2 to 0, 1 and back and forth on every startup or every script pull up that I did. So basically what I did is I went in and I created a udev rule here with this. And inside the dev file, it specifies, okay, you're gonna set to this specific port every time that I start up. That way I don't run into this issue later on. Then the next thing that I do is I'm not really picky about the resolution right now. Now this will change, I am sure, as I need to play with it and change the sizes of these images to get them to match correctly with the model that I'm running against them and not overdo an image size for something that is not needed. But we're not to that point yet. Some point we will be. But right now, this main part was focusing on capturing the images and then going from there. So once I had the images, the next part was, okay, I need to figure out how to teach DigiCaddie to actually pick up specific features such as a club face or my hips or my shoulders or my head, my knees, ball, something like that. Because that's going to be required when I provide it back to the AI coach. It's going to need this information. To get into that, I had to first learn how to annotate. For my annotations, I've been running everything through CVAT. And CVAT is basically, it is another annotator. So there's multiple ones out there. I originally started with RoboFlow, but RoboFlow is not hosted by myself. So it is hosted on a server, which is a downside. The other downside is cost. So I am trying to do everything as low cost as possible. And so with that comes aches and pains. And one of those aches and pains is, hey, now I have to teach DigiCaddie how to see the world and what to look at specifically. I have Docker running, and for my Docker, I am hosting this locally on my computer, so I'm using my GPU and my CPU to run all of these actions. And CVAT is what they call an annotator. And an annotator is basically a tool that you use to define specific things in an image. And for mine, I am trying to find the club head originally and working up from there where after I get the club head working and everything flawless with that, I will move on to the next task. And by training it, I mean I am hands-on with this tool, zooming in through frames and detecting where the club head is and then marking it with a box. And I am going through multiple frames And this is painful, I know. And there are probably tools out there that I can use, but they're going to cost. With this, I feel like I control everything that DigiCaddie is going to receive as far as information. And so if that information is bad, it's on me. And I'll take the hit for that. If it's good, that's also on me, and I get a kudos and I get a DigiCaddie that's actually going to help me out and make me a better golfer. The annotation, it basically creates these things called labels, and it tells it exactly where in this image, which is a 640 by a 640 space, which what it condenses it down to, so 640 pixels by 640 pixels, length and width. And it tells it in those 640 pixels each way where it's at. And you can think of it as an XY coordinates, and it is telling it that it is X over 300 positions and Y up however many positions. And that box has a specific size to it around this specific item. And so it tells it what to look at when I am training the model. And so now I'm gonna show you how that comes out. So I'll look at a label now. So for these labels, what you get are positions that this machine then takes and maps back into the model that I am training. So I will give it back these specific numbers through multiple. So for each image that I have, and for a video, let's say I have 30 images right now. And so 30 images relates to 30 different labels being created, telling it where that club head is specifically at in each of those images. And that way, the model then takes that information and it trains against it. So when I'm looking at the result, so from the images that I have fed it and the labels that I have provided it, it then looks and provides me how well it's doing at detecting that specific spot and that specific item over those multiple images. And here I am looking at the training box loss. And what I want to see is I want to see this training box loss continue to go down. At the same time, though, I want to see this val box loss go down as well. But once this val box point hits a spot, you don't want to continue training it on the same images. Once this starts to flatten out and this is still continuing on this trend, you're overtraining to a specific image or a specific set of images, which isn't going to go well for you in the long run. You want to give it many data points across many spectrums of images, whether it's in my simulator from down the line, from face on, or it's outside from down the line, or face on, or on the range, or on the golf course. You want to provide it different types of scenarios and scenes for it to look at. Because if I continue to just provide it images from my garage simulator, yeah, it's going to be great at finding the club head in here. But when I go out to the golf course and a bird flies or there's a leaf that's about the same size as my club head, it's going to break down really quickly. So you need to make sure that when you're going in and you're annotating and then you're training your model with whatever measurement or whatever tool you use to train it. For mine, I use YOLO because I plan on hosting a similar thing on the Orange Pi. For my choice, I'm training it with YOLO and going and providing it this information, and this is what I get back out for the first training set, which was pretty good. I was like, okay, I'm happy with this. I see it start to zoom, to get a little bit flat down here, so I decided to give it another training image or set of images. I gave it my second set of images that I, with a lot of labor, went through and marked all these club heads. I ran the training set and it looked different. I was like, what's going on here? I could tell that my val box didn't get as good as it did on the first time, but the first thing that stuck out were these metrics and these metric recalls, basically telling it how good it thought it was doing at detecting that specific clubhead. And this is where pathing comes into play. So for anybody that deals with anything where you're scripting stuff, make sure you provided the right path. In my instance, I thought I did, but I didn't. What it did is it went out and it grabbed a random set of images. So these images turn out to be things like a zebra eating grass and broccoli and bread and giraffe butts, which then turn out to give you not so good images or results back. When you train your model with images such as that, you get results such as this, being called a hairdryer, which wasn't exactly what I planned on it telling me I was, but that's all right. I went back and I corrected it. I provided the correct path to the training data and actually got decent results. From this, now I am seeing with a higher confidence, 83% confident, that this is the clubhead and it's correct. And these other things that it picks up are outliers with a 5% or a 2% chance. And I'll take that. And I think with time, it will get better. So now that I've walked through the annotator and I've provided you some information on the model and training your model, the next thing you have to do is you have to deploy the model onto DigiCaddie, which is an orange pie. And to do that, I'm using the RKN Toolkit 2 that you can find here on GitHub under the AI Rock chip. And I have been using this to deploy my model to the orange pie. And this is where things have started to get a little tricky. When deploying this onto the DigiCaddie, there's a host of things that can go wrong. I think where I'm at right now and the issue that I am currently running into is it is resizing my images. And then it is taking and trying to correlate those labels, those annotated positions, onto an image that isn't of the same size. So the pixels are different, which now stretches out what a club head would look like. And it doesn't take into account for that. Or when it reshapes the image, it reshapes it incorrectly. And I think I figured that out the last part of today. And I think I've got a game plan to go forward. I just haven't done it yet. As you can see, it is selecting everything in the room that is rectangular-ish and identifying that as a golf club. But the one thing that it's not detecting is this golf club head. And when I look at it just visually inspecting, I could tell, oh, these boxes are not the same size as the club head. So that's the first giveaway, because when I annotated it, they were the size of the club head because I know, because I did it by hand and visually put it on there. Where I'm going wrong is something is getting compressed incorrectly or reshaped, resized. And when that happens, it is looking for specific features inside of it, and those are not the correct shape and size as what it normally wants. It is failing. My next steps are to get better with reshaping and making sure that the images that I am providing to the model that is being ran on the DigiCaddie are the same size as those that I am providing to it when I was on the desktop. And right now they're not. But by next week, hopefully they are. And then that will allow me to say, okay, I can take an image, I can run a model, I can identify a club head. Now let's ramp this up and go to the next stage of, okay, let's capture a video and see where the bottlenecks are gonna be and see what hurdles we have to jump through. This isn't gonna be easy. I'm not thinking it's gonna just take a video and not try to overheat on me and shut down. So next week's plan, I will have this actually tracking the club head on DigiCaddie and not just on my desktop. And hopefully running it against videos, or at least
a bunch of images from a video as I try to get this better and more streamlined process for it to handle this, because I still have other sensors that I need to provide to it, such as my watch and such as the GPS information and my launch monitor information. But I wanted to tackle the hardest one first because eyes are important.